All right, it is Friday's lesson, and I don't know about you all, but I'm glad. Um, Even though I'm taping these on a Saturday, it's a long day for me. I mean, it's 15 videos that to download and then to upload, and so it's a long day. And to be honest, I break it up into 2 days and sometimes three, just to help shorten the time that's committed to these. So we want to start with our questions. So we always want to go through those first. Today will be hopefully a shorter lesson. It is Friday, and at school, by the time we do concessions on Friday or we have a special assembly, our day is usually shorter on Friday. So guys, I'm just giving you a heads up. It will be a shorter lesson today. So we want to look at question 1. It says, in 1 or 2 sentences, summarize how Jonas receives memories. So if we go all the way back to page 101, it gives us how Jonas is receiving those memories. And it says that he felt only the light touch of the old man's hand on his back. So Jonas receives the memories from the old man by he lies face down on the bed, takes his shirt off, and the old man, our evidence is that, touches him lightly on the back, and that's how those memories are transmitted and from one person to the other. He closes his eyes and they seep through. Okay, so because it wanted a summary, I didn't necessarily have to give a page number. So, but the page number always sticks out to me, so I always stick it in there. Number 2, explain how Jonas's first 2 memories are similar and different. So they are similar in the ways, the first 2 is that they are very pleasant memories. He's excited about the memory. And if we go to the page where he is on the hill and he starts to move, well, not even there. I forgot to write the page number down, so it's taking me a minute. On page 105, we know that he's excited about the memory because he's like, are you saying that I mean, we could do it again? I'd really like to. So he's excited about the memory of that one. So, and then when he goes over and he gets the other memory of the sunshine, okay? And he's talking about, he says he gets on page 107 an all over sensation. And so this is telling me that it's that all over sensation, like he's excited about it. But above that, it says, without being instructed, Jonas closed his eyes again and he felt the hands on his back again and he waited. So he was excited to have this go on again. And so we know that he was excited for this experience and that he easily comes up with the word sunshine. And so it was a good thing for him. Now, how are they different? That's the second part. It's pretty easy. The first one, he's learning about cold and snow. The second one is that he's learning about the sun and heat and hotness. So that would be how they are different. So when we think about our end in mind, comparing and contrast events, again, it's events. You know, the event of the snow, or the first memory that he received, and the event of the second memory that he received. How are they alike and how are they different? Number 3, they want you to draw a conclusion. Using evidence from this part of the story, draw a conclusion about the weather in the community. What is the weather like and how can you tell? all answers are going to be a little bit different on this. So I would do the restate from the conclusion that I can draw about the weather is that it's always the same. And the reason I would say it's always the same is that he doesn't understand cold weather. He doesn't understand hot weather. And so, it must always be like one kind. And he didn't know what the sun was. Sunshine was a new phenomenon. And I made myself a note there about the sunshine. When he was receiving the memory, he was like, oh, it's sunshine, he said aloud and opened his eyes. And then on page 108, he then goes on to say, and it comes from the sky. And the next line tells us that sun is not part of their community because it says, that's right, the old man said, just the way it used to be before sameness, before climate control. So somehow the community is controlling the weather. There's no cold, there's no hot, there's no sunshine, which leads us to believe that there's no rain, there's no cloudy days. It's just all this kind of like, what I would consider maybe an overcast day every day. That's just how I would perceive it. Last question. And I'm sorry, guys. I should have given you the correct page number. So if you did not get this one right, don't fret. Some of you all have already contacted me at this point, I'm sure, saying, there's nothing on page 87. It would have been on page 109. It says on page 109, the author describes the old man as looking drained. What does this mean, and how did you figure it out? And so for me, I actually had to go back to page 109. And, I would assume that the majority of you would have had to reread a little bit to get it. Drained means very tired. And the reason that I would say that is that he talks about this will be the last one today. And before that, he talks about how he's tired. And so we know through the context clues of the story that drained would mean that he's becoming exhausted from transmitting these memories. Okay? Now, we are starting week 2, Team Talk, day 3. So if you've not already flipped those over, I'd like you to do that for me. And we're going to start on chapter 12. You slept soundly, Jonas, his mother asked at the morning meal. No dreams? Jonas simply smiled and nodded, not ready to lie, not willing to tell the truth. I slept very soundly, he said. I wish this one would, his father said, leaning down from his chair to touch Gabriel's waving fist. The basket was on the floor beside him, and in its corner, beside Gabriel's head, the stuffed hippo sat, staring with its black eyes. So do I, Mother said, rolling her eyes. He's so fretful at night. Well, Jonas had not heard the new child during the night because, as always, he had slept soundly. But it was not true that he had no dreams. Again and again as he slept, he had slid down that snow-covered hill. Always in the dream, it seemed as if there was a destination, a something. He could not grasp what that lay beyond the place where the thickness of snow brought the sled to a stop. He was left upon awakening with the feeling that he wanted, even somehow needed, to reach that something that waited in the distance. The feeling that it was good, that it was welcoming, that it was significant. But he did not know how to get there. He tried to shed the leftover dream, gathering his schoolwork and preparing for the day. School seemed a little different today. The classes were the same: language and communication, commerce and industry, science and technology, civil procedures, and government. But during the breaks for recreation period and the midday meal, the other new 12s were abuzz with descriptions of their first day of training. All of them talked at once, interrupting each other, hastily making the required apology for interrupting, then forgetting again in the excitement of describing the new experience. So school seems a little different. Very quickly we could pick that up. They seem a lot ruder, to be honest. Before in the book and in the reading, it all seemed to be like, oh, excuse me, yes, thank you, turn taking, always the proper kind of etiquette. But today, it's kind of like, let me tell you, oh, this is what I did, blah, blah, blah. And so imagine your most biggest fantasy or dream coming true, and then you come to school the next day and you're trying to tell people about it, but in the same day before, everybody else's dream came true, and everybody's just trying to overtalk each other. That's kind of what's taking place at this point. Now, let's keep going. I'm trying to see where I want to stop. Jonas listened. He was very aware of his own admonition not to discuss his training, but it would have been impossible anyway. There was no way to describe to his friends what he had experienced there in the annex room. How could you describe a sled without describing a hill and snow? And how could you describe a hill and snow to someone who had never felt height or wind or that feathery magical cold? Even trained for years as they all had been in precision of language, what words could you use which would give another the experience of sunshine? So it was easy for Jonas to be still and to listen. And after school hours, he rode again beside Fiona to the house of the old. I looked for you yesterday, she told him, so we could ride home together. Your bike was still there, and I waited for a little while, but it was getting late, so I went on home. I apologize for making you wait, Jonas said. Well, I accept your apology, she replied automatically. I stayed a little longer than I expected, Jonas explained. And she pedaled forward silently, and he knew that she expected him to tell her why. She expected him to describe his first day of training, but to ask would have fallen into the category of rudeness. You've been doing so many volunteer hours with the old, Jonas said, changing the subject. There won't be much that you don't already know. Oh, there's lots to learn, Fiona replied. There's administration work and the dietary rules and punishment for disobedience. Did you know that they use a discipline wand on the old? The same as for small children. And there's occupational therapy and recreational activities and medication, and they wretch the building and break their backs. I really think I'll like it better than school, Fiona confessed. Me too, Jonas agreed, wheeling his bike into its place. And she waited for a second, as if again she expected him to go on. Then she looked at her watch and waved and hurried toward the entrance. And Jonas stood for a moment beside his bike, startled. It had happened again. The thing that he thought of now was seeing beyond. The thing it had been Fiona who had undergone that fleeting, indescribable change. As he looked up and toward her going through the door, it happened. She changed. Actually, Jonas thought, trying to recreate it in his mind, it wasn't Fiona in her entirety. It seemed to be just her hair, and just for that fleeting instant. He ran through it in his mind. It was clearly beginning to happen more often. First, the apple a few weeks before. The next time had been the faces in the audience at the auditorium just 2 days ago. Now, today, Fiona's hair. Frowning, Jonas walked toward the annex. I will ask the giver, he decided. This is where we're stopping for today. We are stopping here because it is Friday, and we will pick up on page 115 on Monday. You guys have a great and safe weekend. Enjoy yourself. If it's not raining, go outside, play, do something fun. I love you guys. See you in a few days.